Hi, I'm Max Keiser. This is the Keiser Report. Talk is dangerous. Stacey Herbert.
Max,
Yes.
It is so dangerous. I wore my hummingbird today. A very, very quiet little bird here.
Let me get a close look at that.
Because, you know, the ECB, the EFSF, the IMF, the World Bank, the Fed, the BOE all agree that we can't talk the truth here in the financial world. Here's a little video clip I want to turn to, and this is the former Greek finance minister, Yanis Papantonio, and he's talking about this rumors of a 50% haircut in Greek debt.
Will this solution, or should a solution require a 50% haircut, as I believe the current finance minister has suggested?
No, the current finance minister has refuted this, and this is a very dangerous proposition for Greece, because default of equal to 50% will set in motion CDS, may set in motion a financial crisis in Greece, and there are very serious contagion effects to the rest of the Eurozone. And I think discussion on such options is not helpful.
The truth is trading down. It's in a bear market. Lies are trading up. It's a bull market in lies and silence about lies.
Yes, so the talk is dangerous, he said. It's not the actual financial and economic system that we live in that is the danger. It's the talk that is causing the CDS spreads to widen. It is the talk that is causing Greece to collapse under. It has nothing to do with the austerity measures or anything like that.
Right, well, Yanis Papantonio has financial herpes. I mean, and he doesn't want to talk about it, understandably. But the cure for financial herpes, Yanis Papantonio, is you got to talk about it. You got to go to the doctor or whatever, and you got to take care of your financial herpes. I realize it's embarrassing, and you shouldn't have been fornicating with the IMF. They gave you the financial herpes. Now you're a pariah.
So, of course, Max, the Finns never talk. They're very famously quiet. And, lo and behold, Finnish Parliament approves stronger EFSF.
Well, what is it? EFSF is European Financial Stability Fund. This is yet another financially engineered pool of toxic financial junk that they have birthed into existence through Blythe Master's birth canal, through neoliberal claptrap, and they're hoping that this is somehow going to wash away their sins, but it exacerbates the sins. It makes it much worse. And the Finnish Parliament, shame on you, because you had the right idea at first by saying no, because you're against financial terrorism, but now somewhere in the Finnish Parliament, somebody took a bribe,
now,
obviously.
Max, they had to be quiet. They were told. They had one guy who spoke up, and he was dangerous. He said the wrong thing. He was put away. Now all they had to do is raise their hand and be good little bailout artists. That's what they did.
Bailout artists, con artists, they're all the same. Poor Finnish people. Terrible.
Let's move on to what is not considered dangerous talk by these financial elite. EU's Barroso calls on ECB to do whatever it takes in crisis. There he is, that little picture of Jose Manuel Barroso, the European Commission president, standing at the podium, free to speak to the world this garbage. He says, "We trust that the European Central Bank will do whatever is necessary to ensure the integrity of the euro area and to ensure its financial stability."
Well, Barroso wants to consolidate the banks. They want to create a Eurobond. They want centralization of power. They want loss of sovereignty of the Euro countries, increase the power of Brussels and the European Commission. He's completely spewing nonsense. He's anti-competitive. Let me explain something, Stacey Herbert. The solution to these banking problems is to be pro-competitive. That would mean fostering competition in the banking sector, not creating more too-big-to-fail banks that, by definition, are not competitive. That's what Barroso's talking about. He doesn't understand a thing about economics, finance, or markets. He should be removed immediately.
Yeah, but Max, your talk is considered dangerous, and yet this man's talk is not considered dangerous. And yet hundreds of years of history have shown and demonstrated without a doubt that centralization is dangerous. He is putting us in a more dangerous position. The thought of that the ECB can rescue the financial system that was birthed in its own image.
They're forcing a collision in the Eurozone between different countries. France and Germany will be at war. Germany will be at war with the rest of Eurozone. This is exactly what the euro was set up to avoid. Barroso is saying, no, we want World War III, and we want a huge scene in war in Europe. That would make us all rich, wouldn't it?
Well, Barroso is celebrated because he's saying we must trust in the ECB. Only the central banks can save us. So let's go to the other major central bank in the world, and that's the U.S. Federal Reserve. Here comes Fiatak Watch. Ben Big Brother Bernanke goes Watergate, prepares to eavesdrop on everything, mentioning the Fed. Yes, the Fed is apparently seeking the creation of a social listening platform so they can see who's talking about them and, importantly, note when they're making negative comments and perhaps intervene and prevent this negative comments from happening.
No, this is some of the unintended consequences of the Patriot Act. This is the paranoia of the Fed. They're breaching all kinds of laws. Again, another unintended consequence of Barack Obama giving blanket immunity to Verizon and other telecom companies when they were caught spying on people. So now Bernanke wants to just do wholesale spying on people to try and figure out who out there is trying to get rid of the Fed in this paranoid, schizophrenic, delusional mindset he's got. Let me just point one thing out, Ben Bernanke. I am volunteering to come to Washington to help you straighten out your problem. If you read everything I've ever written and you eavesdrop on me all day long and stick a video camera up my schwing, you'll find out that everything I've said can only help you do your job better as a responsible person if you want to get out of the business of financial terrorism. But I don't think you want to get out of the business of financial terrorism because you're an ideologue and you are part and parcel with those very elements that are destroying economies using suicide bombs. You're a suicide banker.
He doesn't need this fancy schmancy expensive software. All he has to do is go to google.com, enter Ben Bernanke. Oh, look, the third search, Ben Bernanke drunk.
Well, okay, well, there you have it. I mean, they're going to spend millions, hundreds of millions, building a spying platform when they just enter into Google Ben Bernanke, and it's clear the problem is that he's an alcoholic.
That's what people are saying about him. Let's look at Twitter, Max. I'm going to do a search there. Rhonda Bentz writes, has anyone seen Ben Bernanke? He owes me money. Ben Bernanke, give Rhonda Bentz her money back. Let's look at this tweet here. Mark Faber says the Federal Reserve is a criminal organization.
That didn't take too long, did it?
See, Ben, you just have to tune into this episode of the Keiser Report and give us how much do you think they're giving away for this software program?
Well, I'll fly to Washington for free and sort them through their problems. But, you know, if you're going to put me through changes, I'm going to have to charge you accordingly, like 50 or 60 million bucks.
Now, let's move on to another one of these international financial institutions, these masters of the financial universe who say, you little people down there, speak only kindly of us, otherwise the system will collapse. Here is Timothy Geithner. Geithner says new democracies need inclusive economies. So this was Timothy Geithner speaking before the annual meeting of the IMF and World Bank. And he said, the fate of democracy in North Africa and the Middle East depends on building economies that help the youth of those nations. Democracy counts on this.
Yeah, and unemployment in America is at 25% amongst the youth.
Exactly, and in Egypt it's
the same.
The same. In Tunisia it's a little bit more, 30%. So he's saying democracy counts on including the youth. Now we know that the US and all of Europe, they've excluded the youth. So what is he saying? What is he telling us?
I think what he's saying is democracy, according to Tim Geithner, depends on creating a Hitler youth.
I think he's saying in fact, there is no more democracy. We do notice that. We see that when we were saying earlier, Barroso wants integration, consolidation, more power in the authority of the European Central Bank and the European Commission. They're openly telling you the ingredient of a democracy means you have to have jobs. Well, there's nothing coming along that lines. They have no jobs for you, Max Keiser, or the people out there.
No, Bernanke and Geithner, they chose in America, when they confronted with the crisis in 2008, to bail out the creditors and the underwater mortgage holders instead of trying to help the people who are working or saving money in the capitalist system. We know where the bread is buttered for them. We know whose side that they're on. They're on the side of the speculators and the terrorists. Geithner's words mean nothing. He's a pathological liar.
Well, let's Google Tim Geithner right now, Max. Google.com. Enter Tim Geithner. I see Tim Geithner, tax evasion. Very interesting for the man who heads, essentially, the IRS in America.
That's right, he cheated on his taxes. TurboTax Timmy. He said, oh, the TurboTax, my software for doing my taxes must have made a mistake.
Hey, oh, it also says Timmy Geithner grew up next to Max Keiser.
It's true, he used to play in Flint Park. It's a little park in Larchmont, New York, and I could see he had the eyes of the devil. All the mothers at Point say, stay away from Tim Geithner, he's the devil!
So final headline here, Max, speaking of tax evasion, Greece runs out of ink, can't print tax forms. So this is Zero Hedge, and they caught a good little piece in the Financial Times article about the austerity measures, and they note that conservative opposition New Democracy Party said a shortage of ink had prevented the computerized tax center at the Finance Ministry from sending out claims to taxpayers over the last 10 days.
Yes, this resonates throughout history, doesn't it? Because remember, after World War I, the interregnum between World War II, they ran out of ink in Germany when they were printing up the Reichsmark. They only had one side printed. Similarly today, there's Bernanke, there's Geithner. They can run those printing presses all day long, but eventually they're going to run out of ink. They're running out of gold and silver, despite all of the machinations of J.P. Morgan to artificially keep those prices down. They're running out of the basic supplies that one needs to run an economy. You see commodity prices are out of reach for the companies that need these things to create a functional economy. And there's Geithner, Bernanke, running out of ink. Now, as our friend Gerald Celente says, most of it's electronic, and what he would say, of course, is that the electronic money is not worth the paper it's not printed on. So they're going to run out of atoms at some point because why? They just discovered that some neutrinos travel faster than light. Well, if Geithner and Bernanke have their way, that means they're going to print money faster than light itself.
My final comment on this, Max, is that it looks like this is the hyperinflation of all of these elaborate schemes and acronyms meant to bail us out. There's hyperinflation in taxes and new taxes and nickel and diming, and we see that just like when the Reichsmark ran out of ink to print the Reichsmark. Here we're running out of ink to actually print all the new taxes that are required to pay for the bankers.
But remember, don't talk about it. Stacey Herbert, thanks for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max.